What's up? How's it going?
Oh, not much. Not much. I see that you've updated your
It started at 88, now it's back to it.
yeah,
So what's up?
that's progress. Baby steps.
Buddy, listen, if
guys
you
ready
were
to battle?
down by 91 points in a football game and in the fourth quarter the ref gave you back 3, are you going to win it?
Well, I really think that the comparison that you just gave isn't really applicable in my
Well, I
opinion.
don't think that, listen, I don't think that you should be saying my belief that's not applicable when you're not living in reality. Donald Trump is facing 88 felonies, like half of which are 10 to 20 year sentences.
Right.
And they, hold on a second. They dropped, that can come back, by the way, the least severe cases that he has. So 3 of the least severe cases that he has, they can come back.
Okay. Yeah, no, I understand that. It was the fact that the state DA did not define the charges correctly to substantiate per the law. I understand.
Yeah, and they
Right,
can come back.
dismissed without prejudice.
Right. That is correct. So I just don't know why you guys are still stuck on this topic. I mean, does it bring you guys good content, or how are we doing?
You're here, so
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
really just wanted to talk to Tommy.
I don't, man. Put it in the.
he doesn't like you to me.
I know.
Yeah, put it in the
can talk to
suggestion.
you.
Listen, put it in the suggestion box, and I'll put it right in the shredder. Okay.
Well, thank you, I guess, for giving me that much credit. So yeah, I mean, do we really think that this is going to be moving forward in the way that is going to be effective?
His first
Or is
case
it-
is slated for April 15th. And yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's ultimately going to be decided well before the election. He'll have felonies on his record.
I don't think that's the way it's going to go, because he's going to introduce evidence.
What evidence will he introduce to dispute the fact that he paid Michael Cohen $420,000 in reimbursement checks
To do what?
to cover up the fact that they were used to pay off a corn star?
Oh, you're talking about the New York Braggs case.
Yeah, that's the first case.
Well, I mean, Michael Cohen is not necessarily your dream witness in a case, being that
He
he's.
actually is.
How is that?
He's
Jay?
Trump's
Tell me
former lawyer. He was the one that
Yeah.
issued out the payments and was reimbursed by Donald Trump for said payments. That's enough.
Right,
That's more
but-
than an abundance of evidence. That's
But let me
proven
ask you a
this in this case.
question. So have you ever been in a situation where you had let's say you have a CPA, right? And you trust your CPA to do, the right thing with your taxes because you're paying him and he's a professional. And your CPA calls you up and says, "Hey, I need to get a payment from you in your escrow account for $500,000 to take care of some of the things that we've discussed." And you're like, "Yeah, no problem." So you put the $500,000 in the escrow account, because that's how it works when you have a lawyer, and that person supposedly is working on your behalf, correct?
That's not what happened, though. We aren't.
What-
This isn't concerning taxes. This is an election.
No, I understand that, but when you get a lawyer, you have an escrow account, and then your lawyer takes care of things for you. That's why people have lawyers, because there's a level of insulation there. Donald Trump didn't pay these things. Michael Cohen did. Now, do you think that Donald Trump, a person that has an organization that he has, is going to have like the firsthand knowledge of the professionals that he's hired to take care of this business on his behalf?
Yes,
Sorry,
if
what?
it's his money.
Well, I mean, you have to know that the powerful people like Donald Trump,
Really
they
quick.
have
Hold on a
to take
second.
care of
Hold
things.
on. I just zoned back into the conversation here. So,
Yeah.
just really quick, I just want to make sure we're talking about the New York case, right? The Stormy Daniels case.
Yes.
Yep, that's what
And-
Jay brought up. So that's what I'm
Okay, and
addressing.
you are. I just want to clarify so I can understand, because I was kind of tracking here. You were saying that somehow that payment was Michael Cohen's responsibility and fault. Is that it?
Well, if I had a lawyer and I said, "Hey,
I'm just asking you to. Is that your answer?
that would be my understanding of what Michael Cohen's responsibility was as his
Okay.
lawyer." Correct.
Except for the reason that Donald Trump did not want that paid off in a normal way is because he wanted to hide it from his wife. That's why He didn't want that embarrassment. He was trying to hide it from his wife, and he was trying to hide it from public eye so that they couldn't see that he had done this, so that he could have a clean slate. That's why it was put through campaign financing, because otherwise there's no reason for Michael Cohen to hand that off unless he's trying to hide it.
Well, my question is what is the definition of an NDA?
Non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah, correct. And so when you have when you have a lawyer who's supposed to be taking care of these things and people sign an NDA, it's because that's part of the agreement. And both parties in this particular case have broken those NDAs.
Right.
And
because
where's the
NDAs do
evidence?
not apply. NDAs do not apply and are not legally binding when a crime has been committed.
Okay, well, I'm not talking about Michael Cohen. I'm talking about Stormy.
Yeah. The NDA doesn't apply
right.
because the law was broken.
She broke that before this case even got started, is my point.
But it doesn't matter. That would be a civil thing, right? He would be able to sue her for that. But because a crime was committed, it's not like a criminally legally binding thing. It does not protect him from criminal conduct. Like, you can't go to court and say, well, she broke an NDA that said that this guy broke the law, so therefore the information about him breaking the law doesn't count. No, an NDA is civil. So they signed an NDA so he could sue if she violated it. But one of the things that NDAs cannot cover is violations of the law.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, where is this supposed proof that Donald Trump himself had instructed Mr. It's Cohen? I really despise that man. But where is the evidence that that's where it came from? Or did Michael Cohen decide to do these things on his own?
Why would Michael Cohen decide to do these things on his own?
Because he's getting paid to do a job.
Right, but why would he violate the law if there was no need to? Like, the only reason he knew that there was a need to hide this payment is because Donald Trump felt embarrassed. So you're saying that Michael Cohen is a mind reader?
No. If I have a lawyer and he's under a retainer and I have an escrow account and I say, hey, what is the best way to take care of this? I trust you. Let's just take care of it. And Michael Cohen decides that this is the best way to take care of it. And Michael Cohen is the one who actually makes the decision. And Donald Trump gives him instructions as to, hey, let's take care of it. So with this particular case, your assumption is that Donald Trump had purview of the decision and intent, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, look, 1 second. I just to point out, you don't always have to have a clear and concise, like, this person did this, right? Like, this person said do this, right? You don't always have to have evidence. Like, you can make a determination based off of the evidence. Like, it doesn't have to be a situation where, like, he told, like, Michael Cohen is going to testify that Donald Trump told him, but you can make, based on the evidence and what happened in the series of events, that Donald Trump did this. You don't have to prove that you don't have to have, like, caught him red-handed that he said this. What does the evidence infer, right? Donald Trump wanted to hide this. Michael Cohen had no reason to hide this. Michael Cohen is saying that Donald Trump told him. I'm going to pull up all the evidence because I'm not 100% sure, but I know that Michael Cohen is part of that evidence. But Michael Cohen is saying that he wanted to hide the money. Michael Cohen had no reason to pay for it by illegal means, so therefore Donald Trump's the only person that has motive here to hide this payment. He's the only way that it would make sense is if Donald Trump wanted it hidden, right?
Right, but I mean, I guess the assumption at this point by you and others is that there was some specific request, and I'm going to tell you that. I mean, you say that I belong on the floor, but even I would know that there needs to be some kind of ambiguity in that particular decision. And I would keep, my request as vague as possible and let the professional that I'm hiring to do the actual work to figure the rest out. You know what I'm saying?
Not exactly, no.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why you have representation for taking care of these things, because you want to be removed. You want to be insulated. You want to be removed from the decision. That's why they're called professionals. That's why they have a law degree, because so these types of things don't happen. And with Cohen, you have, some very serious ethical concerns and issues. He's a convicted
really.
felon that has been fired and has serious.
He was convicted for Trump.
He was
Yes,
convicted.
he was convicted of the
Trump?
same set of facts. Yes, on
Okay,
behalf
so-
of, based
so-
on the Stormy Daniels case.
Okay, so here we go with, you have a lawyer who did some shady stuff, and then now that he's gotten caught, he's going, oh well, this guy, he told me to do it, dude. Come on, man. I mean, is that
He not only dictated it. It's not a come on thing, man. He not only dictated that, but he reimbursed him under the same set of facts as laid out within the indictment, as laid out within the evidence of the checks.
Well, because Michael
I don't know
Cohen
how
asked
Donald Trump
him
is
for
some.
that
One
payment.
second, man. One second, man.
Okay,
One
no
second,
problem.
man.
No
I
problem.
don't know how Donald Trump is somehow not privy to the actions of where his money is going about and where it's being documented. If he's writing this down as a campaign expense, he ought to know what the reasons of those things are. If we're to say that he's oblivious to that, I think makes it even worse for his case.
Well, you act like Donald Trump is like the only person making decisions in this particular situation, and that's just not
I just
true.
want to read this really
Well,
quick.
you can't do it unilaterally.
I want to read this really quick. According to the information from the Federal Election Commission, there are documents indicating that at the direction of Donald Trump, his former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, formed a limited liability corporation to route $130,000 to Stormy Daniels in exchange for their non-disclosure agreement. These documents suggest that the payment was made for the purposes of influencing the election. Michael Cohen admitted to delivering the payments to Stormy Daniels for the principal purpose of influencing the election, and testified that he and Trump were concerned about the impact of their allegations on the campaign if they were publicized. As far as I know, the documents are not public. They're still in court record because they didn't need to be brought up into the Michael Cohen one, but they may be public in the Michael Cohen one. I'm not sure. We'd have to check.
Yeah.
But there are documents that Donald Trump's involved in.
Well, and I guess we can have this conversation because nobody in this conversation has purview of those documents, I suppose. But if there's documents that can lead directly to Mr. Trump, then I suppose then maybe he's going to have an issue there. I mean, I would never. I would never allow myself to have that kind of exposure. I would want to be removed from that situation. And I think that, Donald Trump.
Somebody said he had checks that were signed. I don't know the extent of the case. I haven't been following it, and I was going to start following it when it was happening and ongoing, but yeah.
Yeah, right.
Michael Cohen's live right now. You can ask him.
Man, Michael Cohen is not looking too good on those lives. I've been in a couple, and he sounds like a disgruntled ex-employee.
Bombastic. I mean, he dealt with Donald Trump for 10 years. He went to prison for Donald Trump. So I think he has every right to be furious.
But
yeah.
he also made a lot of money being his lawyer as well. So, I mean, you live by the sword, you die by the sword, I suppose. I mean, he could have walked away and done other things any time, but
that's fine. But you gotta remember, it's not just Michael Cohen. There's a lot of people that didn't make any money off Donald Trump that got fucked by him in the last few years. Literally every lawyer he took with him through the January 6th has lost their license. John Eastman lost it yesterday, or is recommended for losing it. The list goes on. So, I mean, Donald Trump has, most of the people that have worked for Donald Trump have ended up, he's the highest turnover rate of any administration. So, I mean, you talk about the amount of people that have turned on him. Miles Taylor, Cassidy Hutchinson, the list goes on. Mike Pence, everybody. Chris Christie. Like, the guy has a record, if you were to come and it was like every day on this, every week on this show, there's a new co-host, you might go on to think that there was something wrong with me, and you'd probably be right? Like, I just not friends with Jaden anymore. And then someone else come out here, and then I'm not friends because I'm in a fight with them. And that would be, you'd be like, okay, what's wrong with this guy?
Well, okay, let me just give you a counter perspective, and I hear what you're saying. I mean, you are right. All those things are facts that you have just said. Chris Christie is actually the one who recommended Pence for the vice presidency. So, But with that point made, the rank and file in the Republican Party is not really that squeaky clean when it comes to their behavior and what they're doing and what they're not doing for the American people. And when you have a candidate who has openly said that he's going to be for the people, giving power back to the people, and draining the swamp, that doesn't necessarily specify, a particular party. I mean, it's dealing with the corruption and all of that encompassing both parties. So if you were to say that Donald Trump made some serious enemies while trying to do what he wanted to do, I would say that you damn right he made enemies, and it probably made a lot of the wrong enemies because they're people in Washington wield a lot of power.
Okay,
and
so
now they're
right, but he brought in all these people. Some of these people even worked with him for, like Cassidy Hutchinson worked with him for 4 years.
right.
And it's turned on him and actively warning against him. You're talking about you're literally trying to say that he is somehow is the best businessman and knows all this, but also can't pick people that won't leave. Like what you have to use, like what's more likely here, that people that are previously his friends and people that he worked with, that they're like all of them, so he's just really bad at picking people and all of them are against him, or that they were all for him, which they were, and then found out that he was psycho.
Well, that might very well be the case, Tommy. I'm not going to say that, that point that you make might not have some validity to it, but you can also, here again, look at it from the perspective that coming from a business environment, he's all about the deal, the negotiation, not necessarily the day to day, right? Okay, he's
But
not a day.
look at how many people he's got put in jail. Look at how many people have been doing. Like, what is he just a bad businessman? Alan Weisselberg went to jail. The Trump Organization got 17 felony fraud counts. He got hit with the fraud out of New York. He got hit with the Trump University fraud, the defrauding of children's charity. There's a bunch of fraud cases there. Alan Weisselberg went to prison. Michael Cohen
Several
went
of
to
his
prison.
lawyers have been disbarred.
He has 7 people in the Russia investigation that went to prison. Jenna Ellis is fighting for her license. Kenneth Chesebro is fighting. Sidney Powell is fighting. Rudy Giuliani has lost his license. John Eastman is going to lose his license, and the list goes on. Every time this guy works with somebody.
Well, the opposite perspective point that you're making, and it's just to be the devil's advocate here, and that is this: a clear, decisive message has been sent out that if you give this man a lifeline while we're systematically tearing him down, you will go down with him. And that is exactly the message that seems to be being sent out. And so, I mean,
why are these people claiming that Donald Trump did this and not the government? Because nobody is claiming that the government's responsible for this. Every single one of them is saying the reason is because of Donald Trump, with the exception of Giuliani. Everybody. Sidney Powell has came out and apologized for it. Like, all of these people aren't blaming the government. They're blaming Donald Trump.
Well, I think that when you look at these professional individuals, they're trying to save their career. They're trying to save face. A lot of things are said in attempts to save. But dude,
you have to make this wild, gigantic assumption that somehow everybody has the same belief system, that people aren't just coming out and being like, no, the government's targeting us, whatever. Like, Donald Trump's friends are coming out and saying, and people that worked with him are saying, no, this guy's a problem. This guy you should go listen to what Miles Taylor said about him. Miles Taylor said that they had to hand him his daily briefs in big, bombastic, Trumpian language so that he could understand them. If you don't want to be a loser, you should do this. They would have to do that. So the whole thing is, like, on one side, you can't simultaneously claim that Donald Trump is draining the swamp, that he is fixing the problem, while everybody that he brings in, more than any other president on the planet, right, is bringing in people that are part of the swamp. Like, doesn't that how does that? He's losing more people than other presidents has. How does that mean he's better at ending the swamp if he's getting rid of that many people?
Well, the point that I was going to make, and then we kind of made a quick left turn, was that I do not think that when Donald Trump was in Trump Towers, when he got elected, and he was getting assistance from the Chris Christies and the establishment Republican Party on who he should put into what position. I honestly do believe that Donald Trump took advice from people that might not have had his best interests in mind. And, I believe that,
But he,
yeah,
he cleared people out throughout his entire presidency and replaced them.
and
Multiple different times.
and there again is because we're talking about somebody who has never even ran for like a county seat, let alone like the president of the United States. Now, am I making that point to say that he's not qualified? But that is a huge learning curve to learn, and I think towards the end, he realized some of the mistakes that he made. And if he gets elected again, I don't think that he's going to have that same issue, because now he actually knows firsthand, not, for secondhand advice. You know what I'm saying? He won't make that same mistake.
Bill
I think
Barr
that makes the case
guts.
for a second term worse.
Right, Bill's guts. Bill Barr was later on. Like everybody that joined his administration hated him.
Okay,
There's like a handful of people that stayed. Steve Mnuchin was one of them, and Steve Mnuchin should be in prison. So,
well, I think that the people that you're referring to are entrenched people of Washington that had their own agendas afoot. And, when you have an outsider coming in saying that he's going to drain the swamp, that is a threat to the status quo, which is what you have your livelihood and what you've been doing for decades.
Right.
That's a threat.
Okay, but yeah, this only makes the case for why a second term for Donald Trump is even more dangerous and even more unpredictable and unstable. That instead of having some, whatever you may call it, Washington experience, these are going to be yes men. These are going to be people with practically no experience whatsoever, as if the last administration was inexperienced. We're going to see even more of that. And not only that, but within that lack of pushback, within that lack of diplomacy, and able to combat what dear leader is saying, some sort of inner circle of people that can at least do the job professionally. We're going to be seeing yes men who are going to be doing his bidding, who are going to be making policy much worse because they're not going to be willing to stand up against Donald Trump. And I think we need to have people that say no, because as you indicated earlier, he's not well versed in this. He's not very experienced in this. And I think that tells me a lot about who you want to elect as president, someone who's never run something, someone who has no governing experience. This is not an on-the-job training kind of thing.
Well, with that said, the entrenched Washington, D.C. insiders are exactly the problem of why it has become a corporatocracy instead of representing the people, because I don't have a super PAC that's looking out for the interests for me or my community. We might donate, $100, $25, whatever. But as far as the super PAC money that's being thrown at these candidates to get elected, it's like pennies in the barrel. It needs the whole point, and the whole movement, I think that for some reason is getting lost in this drip, drip, drip of all of these things that seems to be happening to Donald Trump. And the movement is being lost is the people want their representation back. And whether Donald Trump is that candidate or the perfect person or the fraudster or whatever you call him, he's the one bringing that message. And I mean, is it
He's not. If he was that one bringing that message, he would have acknowledged that he lost. He would have respected the will of the voters. But instead, he's tried to forge his way over the last 4 years back into office somehow, despite the fact that he's overwhelmingly been rejected, not only by his administration, but the very people that sent him into Washington in the first place.
And you realize, and I'm not trying to be, confrontational or anything, but every single time the left has this rhetoric like they're going to seize his properties and his golf courses, this is just fueling the fire of the average American person that's this is
stop
ridiculous.
breaking the law. Stop breaking the law.
Well, no.
Stop
Wait a
breaking the
minute
law.
here. Well, I mean,
he committed persistent fraud for 50 years. Stop breaking the law. It's not that difficult.
Hold on here. Can you refer me to another case of an individual that has had a levy of $454 million against them? Can you please reference that case, please?
I mean, yeah, corporations have. Yeah, absolutely. Corporations have.
No,
yes.
I didn't reference a corporation.
Okay, because corporations are listed. Corporations are listed in the actual chart or the actual thing against him.
Yeah,
like his corporations are listed because he used his corporations to do it.
It's a pretty big deal. And the point that I've been making with this case is, if New York is so concerned about this process of a private contract with two private businesses, and we have a conversation about the UCC codes about acting in good faith with these contracts, then where's the governmental oversight as to verify that these things are being done one way or another across the board? Because you have
They don't have to be done one way or another across the board. But the fact is, it doesn't matter because your argument is like this childhood. Oh, but they did it too. I don't give a shit. That doesn't absolve you from what you did. And in no way, shape, or form could someone walk in front of you at work or at school or whatever, or even in your own home with your kids and go, well, they did it too. And it'd be an honest excuse for what they did. It's not. He broke the law. Just because someone else unalived someone and LJ got away with it doesn't mean they get to get away with it too. Well, Donald Trump, and this is what you're not understanding about this, okay? This is not a case where Donald Trump did one or two things wrong and they caught him. That's not what happened, okay? The reason you don't see cases like this every day is because usually people don't commit extensive fraud to this degree, but you do see corporations get hit with fines for doing this same shit. You see it with Wells Fargo all the time. You've seen it with Facebook. Like Wells Fargo happens like once every other year with them. So for you to say like, oh, he's absolved because no, he broke the law. Okay. It's not being unequally applied to him. He was fucking super brazen about it. Like lied on everything he did. Everything.
So I guess this and this is not a pivot. This is just a perspective in being that we're talking about New York. Okay, so don't think it's a pivot. But are you following the fraud case that involves a lot of public and elected officials in New York?
A what? No.
Well, you should look that up because it's interesting to me that you don't know about that. Because
so now your argument is that they're applying the law to multiple people. Okay.
No.
Jerry, appreciate the Venmo.
The feds.
Ethan, appreciate the Venmo.
The FBI has came in and rounded up New York officials for committing fraud, just like we're talking about Donald Trump. But I find it so interesting that you're not interested in that fraud case, but we're just kind of talking about the Trump fraud case. It involves over 100 individuals.
Right. Because one of them wants access to nuclear arms again, and the other one are some shitty public officials that need to be fired. You see how that's different? See how that's like substantively different?
Well, I think that what it shows is that New York is corrupt as. That's what it shows. And
no,
who's to say...
It doesn't. No, you can't. No, that's a blanket generalization. No, you can't just say that New York is corrupt because
over
of 100. Okay, so Donald... Okay, awesome, cool. The Trump administration then is corrupt. They've had dozens of people arrested. They've had dozens of people charged. So then by that logic, if you can make a blanket generalization, if you can somehow equate public officials to the DA's office, then I can make that about Donald Trump. He's corrupt because of the people he has working for him.
Well, and that's the point.
You can try and unravel. You can try and unravel that all you want.
No, Tommy, I'm giving you that point, and that's exactly what I wanted to make clear. is that if we're going to talk about the fraud, let's talk about it all, and how it relates to New York.
But this
They're not
this
contingent.
doesn't. This
No,
they're not
I know.
contingent on each other.
I understand that you think that it's separated, but who's to say? Okay, and now this is just hypothetical opinion. Okay, I'll make that very clear. But who's to say that the person that's supposed to be oversighting these things got paid off? I mean, we don't know that.
Overseeing what? Because we have Donald Trump's signature on the statements of financial condition. We also have, is that what you're talking about? Because we also have a note written on one of them that said forward to Donald Trump for final approval on the statement of financial condition, and then Donald Trump signed it.
Well, you're talking about his CFO that got
So
arrested.
Is he so competent that he should be president, or he's so incompetent that he didn't know that they were funneling money through his campaign, and that he didn't know what was in his own statement of financial conditions? Like that, neither one of these arguments is good for you.
Well, let me ask you: have you ever been around?
Why didn't he answer that question? We know why.
Okay, did you ask me a question and I missed it? What's up?
Yes. Is Donald Trump competent, or does he not know the things that he's signing? The documents in the New York hush money case, his statements of financial conditions. Does he not know
People he's appointed to his administration.
Okay, so it is of my belief that I have been around very, very rich, insulated individuals. And, you said something about a check. Like the guy probably gets like 100 checks at a time to sign. He doesn't look. They don't look.
Check.
Okay, dude's on audio tape
check.
talking to Michael Cohen about the checks.
Right. It wasn't just a check. There was statements of financial conditions, and there was an LLC established. Sorry, go ahead, Gene.
Okay.
Yeah, he's on audio tape September 2016 talking to Michael Cohen about this very reimbursement process. He's asking her, can we pay in cash?
But why
Or should we take checks?
But why is there a recording of this? Have we ever asked the question? Why do we have
Why does that matter?
No,
Right.
The reason why I'm asking is because it sounds like a setup. That's why.
Then he shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, like why would Donald Trump be being recorded unless it was the FISA 702 illegitimate wiretap that they had from the FBI with a contingency plan? I mean, is that what we're talking about?
God, it does not matter why he was recorded. If he's committing a crime, that's substantial evidence.
Well, hold on. If that evidence,
Why did they record Al Capone?
Well, no, I'm just asking if that evidence came into light by a falsified FBI wiretap using 702 authorization.
Even if it would, then that wouldn't be admissible in court. So that's
exactly my point.
Question. Right. But you're using two standards, and you're using them when it's convenient. So on one side, you're saying we have this evidence that shows that he did it, but also it can't be used in court. But that's not an argument, because we're talking about whether or not he did it, not if court's going to convict him or if it's admissible in court. Right. It's a weird.
Well, I'm thinking of I've been around very rich individuals, and typically they're like 3, 4, 7, 10 people removed from actually like getting things done. They're like the people that sign the checks, and they tell people, hey, I need you to take care of this. Hey, I need you to figure out how the best thing to do this. Hey, where are we at with this? Hey, where are we at with that? They're not the ones actually doing the things. I don't. They're the idea guy. But they're not the execution of the idea guy.
Okay, but we know that Donald Trump knew what was going on with the payments. That's not under question here.
Well, he knew
we know that because that same set of facts was used to convict Michael Cohen. Somehow, the audio that was presented in court was admissible there. I don't see why it wouldn't be in this case.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely for good debate and good for conversation. I respect both of you. We've had a cordial conversation. Obviously we have different perspective on the subject matter, but it's been fun.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.